Are we good?
I think
I'll
we're
check.
good.
Before anything, can we please debrief a little bit about what you told us this morning?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hey.
And then like on her social
Uh-huh.
and they're like interacting.
Little does she know.
That's
So
so
gross.
weird. Oh,
That's
I don't
gross
think
for him
she would
too.
That's really
yeah.
gross.
I mean,
What do you mean
she's
gross?
thirsty.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like into these pseudo intellectuals too.
How can he not see through that shit?
Night at the one-time stand. They don't care if
Oh, hey,
she's
that's true.
psycho.
That's true. Hey, that's
And that's exactly what he did. Like, he literally
One and done.
disappeared. Disappeared.
Literally hit it and quit it. And I was like, yep,
Oh my
that's what it sounds
God.
like.
So guys, I
I
got
might
it.
sorry, I might yawn. It's not you, it's me.
Wake
okay.
up. No. All right. So by the way, I got wrapped into a little bit of like Instagram drama. I didn't really get wrapped into it. I made some comments. So,
You asked
do
for
you,
it.
okay, I mean, you guys are familiar with this one person who does the I'm rich, you're poor
Yes.
thing.
Hmm.
Povos.
He's
Yes,
my favorite.
Mine
he
too.
is awesome. Okay, I think he keeps it real. I think he calls out very obvious things that many influencers do. Whether they do it knowingly or not, I don't know. But he recently highlighted someone who has a ton of followers and is actually Bangladeshi. And, there were people coming at him. I think his page is Shabazz Says or something, I think.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, you're kind of attacking her. Like, why are you picking on her? And the whole concept of this page is making fun of people that show things that are in excess and, just like wasteful or like, hey, look at me, I have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I commented and I said, yeah, I think this person is a perfect candidate for I'm rich, you're poor. And
Absolutely.
and then there were some people like, oh, why do you care? Or like, why does it bother you? And I'm like, it doesn't, but if you're gonna come out in this public space, then you need to be open to people also criticizing you, because what type of message are you sending when you're talking about I have a spa in my home or I forget what, oh, I think there was like a sprinkle, a baby sprinkle, and she was giving away tons and tons
Thousands and dollars worth
of
of product.
gifts to people, which is very nice. Like, hey, my guests are getting these things. But, I think the whole concept of the page is like, look at these people who are just showing off their wealth. And, there was a lot of conversation of, well, this person didn't start off that way.
Have
Now
any
she's
of you
successful.
followed her since then?
No,
From the beginning?
no, I
No.
just never followed her.
Did
I
you?
did when she was a makeup blogger, but you only saw like
Right.
her in her room doing her makeup, which was
I
great.
remember seeing those, but I wasn't like a loyal, how like she kind of has like a tribe
Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
Right.
followers that kind of are right there gung ho in her defense. I wasn't one of those, like I didn't follow it
Yeah.
to the T. But I mean, her content definitely was unique at the time when it did
Right.
come out because I feel like she was one of the only, like she was one of the few people of color. She was also, she was a big girl. This is not something that we're used to seeing. So it
And
was,
her whole thing was based on flaws. Like
Yeah.
mhm.
the whole red color corrector, and that's how
Yep.
she started. Like it was about being flawed. And now she just is like,
Perfection.
yeah,
And, not to just pick on her, a lot of people, a lot of influencers start with one thing that they're focusing on as their brand or whatever their page wants to be. But then they slowly start this whole look at all this, luxury that I have. And that's when I think a lot of people stop relating to them. There was another person who was hilarious. She used to do a lot of reenactments of Bangladeshi aunties or, you know, Bangladeshi kalas and people. And then those skits kind of went away when she blew up. And now it's like, look at my Louis Vuitton and Gucci Christmas presents
I'm
and
trying to think of who you're talking
look at
about.
my,
Oh,
look at my Tesla. Like that's not
yeah.
why I was following you. I was following you because I thought you were really funny and your content was really smart. Now you're just bragging about everything you have.
Do you
Um,
think it has something to do with like kind of inspiring people to live this dream? I was on TikTok today. I was watching this one video that came on, and it said that your social media feed is not for your friends. It's for people, it's for what you want to emulate and the kind of people you want to attract,
right.
right? Like,
Your
so whatever
feed, like whatever
like
you're watching.
yeah, like no, your reel, for example, whatever you put out, a content that you
Gotcha.
put out, since whatever we put out is so curated, right?
Yeah.
So that curated video or photo or the text, whatever you put out, is not necessarily who you are, but who you want to project
Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah.
as, right? And what kind of
Right.
people you want to attract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think a billion times before I post something because I'm just like, oh my God. But I'm also kind of insecure because
Right.
I maybe because I hate on so much content. I'm
Yeah.
like, there's people that probably hate on my shit too.
And I mean, there's no question if you don't like something, don't follow that page, right? And
Yeah.
that's why I think all of us are saying, oh, yeah, we don't follow these individuals anymore because at some point we were like, I can't relate to this.
Well, it's
Um,
relatable and authentic. Like, I think,
right.
and I don't know if the younger generation is different from us,
Yeah.
but I have a feeling Gen Z wants more authenticity than even we would. Like, they
Yeah.
don't they call out bullshit immediately. So it's
you
like, who
think?
are
I
they
feel
trying
like
to?
it's the other way. I feel like millennials are more at that point in their
Hmm?
lives where they're authentic to who they are, not so much as to showing who you can be. But I feel like Gen Z, they're kind of selling that dream. Just because, I mean, I was at this event this past weekend. I was around a lot of Gen Zers, like seeing the type of content that they were creating and what they were putting out. So
Yeah.
when you see them kind of in their natural element versus what they put on their feed, it was definitely very like a stark difference from who they were versus what they were showing.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean,
I mean, and I
it's
was doing that too, obviously, when I was making my reel. That's not exactly what happened the entire time.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But I feel like I guess depends on who you are too. If you're just a regular person versus someone who's a so and so influencer or what.
Trying to be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind that content creation is a ton of work. Because now everyone's like, oh, I want to be an influencer, make easy money. It ain't easy.
No.
And some of these individuals that we're talking about who have millions of followers now, I mean, that is a huge accomplishment. It is extremely difficult
Yes.
out of the billions of people, and everybody seems to have social media now, to stand out and do something where people are like, I'm going to follow this person. But I think it's a little disappointing sometimes to see a lot of these people who started with one, I don't know, vision or theme and have completely gone off that whole vision. And I mean, not to say you can't evolve, but um, I think Maya, you've talked a lot about this with us, this whole concept of virtual signaling. I think that's the term.
Oh, yeah,
We
virtue
learned it from
Oh,
you.
signaling.
Or
virtue
virtue,
signaling.
Yeah.
virtual. I'm still working. A virtue signaling. Do you want to explain a little bit what that means? Virtue signaling.
I think virtue signaling in the social media context, I feel like is sometimes this toxic positivity that people put out that and selling this dream that requires a lot of hard work, number
Yeah.
one. Number two, virtue
Yeah.
signaling to me also looks like people who put out a lot of their like, let's say, like personal things such as like their faith, for example, or the way they parent. When I look back now, I see a lot of things that I used to even post where I felt suddenly like, I knew a lot, or, because I felt like I was an expert in my daughter, that somehow I knew a lot.
I mean, do you also think, because for me, I kind of understood virtue signaling as a little bit more specific to look at me, I'm doing something so generous, or I'm
Yeah.
doing something nice for somebody, I'm giving
Yeah.
away thousands of, dollars of whatever gifts to people, or I'm donating, or look, I'm at a food bank. That to me feels
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
more around the virtue signaling than some of the other, like you have a political stance and you're, talking about that, or that the opinions are maybe a little bit different. From the virtue signaling is very much us feeling as like the users or viewers, like, wow, how come I'm not as good of a person as this person, or like, look at the way I'm raising my kids, they're
Yeah.
perfect and I'm taking
Like,
them.
I'm better than everyone else.
That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's the kind of, yeah, I
Yeah.
think you hit the nail in the head. I think your description, I think I kind of went off on a tangent, but yeah, you definitely
But it's
what you're
it's
saying.
just inauthentic. Like to me, it's inauthentic. We talk about virtue signaling in my day job. Like if you think about a brand and how a
Yeah.
brand shows up, like people will check you, right?
Hmm.
Especially bigger companies and bigger entities where you have so much responsibility and power. People will check you. But there's people, I think, who we're talking about, these influencers, they're growing, they're getting bigger and bigger. They're getting checked too. How far do they go, or how far do they go? How far can they go before people actually start dropping off? Or before they
Oh,
become irrelevant?
yeah. And that's why content creation is so difficult, right? Because you constantly have to stay relevant, but then you just triggered another thought of, people getting canceled really fast too.
Hmm.
I think that's an interesting point you bring up, Mehreen, about, how far do you go, or at what point do you become irrelevant? I don't
Hmm.
know.
And do you even recognize that you carry some responsibility? Like, okay, this is a bad example, but there was like the last Kardashian season. One of the things where it's funny, Kylie Jenner was pushing all of her sisters about like, um, we have this responsibility. Millions and millions of people follow us, and we're setting all of these really bad beauty standards.
Do
Yeah.
you think that's virtue signaling though? Like her just talking about that, saying
Oh
that
yeah,
we
how
have a
authentic that is.
responsibility, but like then
Totally.
she goes in
Yeah.
with her, fake lips and her fake jaw and all that
Totally.
shit.
Totally.
Totally. I mean, what are
Totally.
they going to do? Everybody just start taking all their
They
implants and
take
their butts start to shrink. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
And she's still making billions with her lines,
hmm
right? But yeah.
Totally. There's also like this trend, and that's why I was saying about Gen Z and authenticity. Shabazz is so popular because he's trying to go against like what we're saying. Like it's not just virtue signaling, but this whole aspirational
Yeah.
content, and you have to aspire to be this. He's like, nobody wants to see that anymore. We have to start calling it. And so there's a
Yeah.
term for it. There's a term for it now. But it's like this trend of like people doing the opposite, of showing more of what is realistic, and that content actually picking up.
Well, I
Yeah.
wonder if the whole like luxury thing is going out of style more than realistic, right? It's because what I started noticing with a lot of these influencers is in their videos, in the background, all they're showing are things like, look at my designer thing, or look at my fancy car, or it's, and it's kind of cringy because they pretend like they're not trying to show it, but it's in the background. Like, why is
Like
that so perfectly positioned
when people post pictures of their nails, like they just left the nail salon and it's like on the steering
on
wheel and you're
their,
like
yeah.
kind of covering your really
Why do we,
fancy car logo, but not.
like, stop doing that? I would much prefer you openly wear whatever it is that you want to show and just be proud and show it, not like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna just hide it in the back and I don't get it.
be subtle about it.
Um, yeah, exactly. Don't be subtle about it, I suppose, because it's even more cringy when you do that.